I respect Crawford. He's a great fighter, and I always say that no disrespect him, but sometimes it's a little crazy that people talking about.
Canelo Alvarez's strength and punching power may scare some boxers, but not Terence Crawford, who has fired back at the Mexican world champion not to give excuses for him, but to get in the ring with him. Crawford is absolutely sure he'd get the victory over the Mexican superstar if the two fought, and he has warned him not to talk about who gets the credit, but should make the bold move.
For both of us, I believe.
Any doubt in your mind that you beat him?
Of course I beat him. It ain't no doubt in my mind that I won't beat anybody that I step.
It has been reported this week that the showdown between the pound-for-pound stars has been agreed and will take place in September, although it is still being speculated that it could actually happen in May instead. Riyadh Seasons' Turki Alalshik has been at the forefront of negotiations between both fighters' camps as he looks to finalize one of the biggest fights in boxing history. Canelo was said to be initially reluctant in taking a fight against the 37-year-old from Omaha, but it appears the Mexican icon has changed his mind and is now gearing up for his latest challenge.
About a small fighter like Charlo, he's big, which he is big, and everybody's talking about if I'm gonna face Crawford.
Speaking on the fight during an interview with a reputable boxing platform, the 34-year-old revealed he was in for the clash with Bud, admitting he won't get any credit. I respect Crawford. He's a great fighter. I always say that, no disrespect to him. Sometimes it's a little crazy that people talk about a small fighter like Charlo, which is big. And then everybody is talking about, if I'm going to face Crawford, a fighter at 147, who is smaller than Charlo? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. But you guys say that right now? At the end of the day, I won't have any credit if I face Crawford, but you never know. You never know in boxing. I go up and down and fight everybody out there. So it's possible. Why not? It's possible.
Fighter 147, who is smaller than Charlo. So no make sense when you guys say.
This was almost a repeat of an interview he had earlier where he said, "I'm in, why not? I think Crawford, don't get me wrong, he's a great fighter. But for me in my weight class, it's an easy fight for me. Easy money. If the money is right, I'm in because, I don't like to fight guys like Crawford because he moves a lot and the fight is not that great. I saw Crawford in the last fight and he doesn't move that much now. So yeah, if the money is right, I'm in."
First, what did you think of his performance versus Berlanga?
I think he put on a great performance like he always do. Canelo is Canelo.
I've been wanting the fight. It's a legacy fight. It's the biggest fight in boxing today. I feel like the fight is the last of the Mohicans. I think the fight would be massive. You've got two guys who are top 3 pound for pound going head to head together. I know Canelo is bigger than me, but I'm up for the challenge. It's all respect, and if he does decide to come my way and we get in the ring, then it would be an electrifying fight.
I think Berlanga put on a tremendous show as well. He showed a lot of heart and grit and determination as well, and that made for a great fight.
If it does go down, Crawford acknowledges he'll have some challenges. He said he will certainly have to be aware of Canelo's size and power, but he said, "I've been fighting bigger guys my whole life," and he's guaranteeing he'd come away with a win. "Of course I'll beat him," the 41 0-star said. "There is no doubt in my mind that I wouldn't beat anyone I step in the ring with."
To come my way and me and him get in the ring, then it'll be an electrifying fight,
What makes a potential Canelo-Crawford fight particularly poignant is the fact that each man's Hall of Fame-worthy career is likely winding down. The 34-year-old Canelo has literally been fighting professionally for nearly 20 years, earning an eyebrow-raising record of February 2nd, 62. Some of those fights, especially his 2 controversial battles with Gennady Golovkin, have unquestionably led to some wear and tear. As for Crawford, at 37 years of age, he's not getting any younger with a considerable 41 fights under his belt. Suffice to say, the man has never lost in the ring. Seen through a certain lens, a Canelo-Crawford match makes a considerable amount of sense, for it's with wondering what mountains are left for each man to climb.
It won't be like any other fight that he's fought recently, and it'd be a well fought fight.
Both know what it's like to be an undisputed champion in an era when there are far too few undisputed champions to be found. Each fighter also knows what it's like to fight under the bright lights. Canelo's been in numerous legit super fights against Golovkin and Floyd Mayweather respectively, while Crawford finally appeared in his first super fight back in 2023 when he crushed fellow welterweight titleist Errol Spence in 9 rounds of one-sided combat. Should this fight be signed and made official, it's understandable that Canelo, at least early on, will be the considerable favorite. He's been fighting at super middleweight after all, while Crawford has just recently made the jump in weight up to junior middleweight.
That right now, at the end of the day, I don't want to have credit to face Crawford, but you never know.
Surprisingly, however, Crawford is the taller of the two, albeit slightly. He's also known to adapt well to any situation. What's more, he possesses extraordinary confidence. In other words, Crawford likely won't see this as an underdog story. He'll see it as a battle requiring seriousness, focus, and an effective game plan. Crawford ultimately is a practical-minded man. Then again, so is Canelo, and Canelo has the power to hurt. Turki Al-Sheikh, an avid boxing fan, promised that by 2025, he will bring several world-class fights, but the jewel in the crown could be the long-awaited fight between Saul Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, which could be in the works for September.
No, you never know in boxing. I'll go up and down and fight everybody out there. So it's possible. Why not?
Both fighters spoke away from Al-Sheikh's radar during a meeting in London last week, and it seems that they would have started the negotiating points for the long-awaited fight between two of the best pound-for-pound fighters today. The fight is planned to take place on the weekend of the celebrations for Mexico's Independence Day in mid-September, ESPN reported. ESPN boxing specialist Mike Coppinger noted that, from what I'm told, they're in the process of finalizing a deal for a fight in September, Mexican Independence Day weekend, and it will be in Las Vegas with the 168-pound weight limit, no rehydration clause.
What do you think about Terence Crawford calling out Canelo?
You know, I don't like that fight.
Why not?
I don't like that fight.
However, there is one issue to be defined, and that is that Crawford would require an additional 14-pound weight jump to match the weight and category of the Mexican fighter. Canelo has been moving up in weight over the years, after starting out at super welterweight, where he won the World Boxing Council world title and later became the unified middleweight champion. He made a brief stop at light heavyweight and defeated Sergey Kovalev to win the International Boxing Federation belt before dropping down to super middleweight, where he would become the first undisputed 4-belt champion. Former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson immediately spoke out about the possibility of a fight between Canelo and Crawford and disagreed with such a fight, especially because of the aforementioned weight difference between the two fighters.
It's just too much weight, you know, and he had a close fight with the last guy he fought, Terence, because this guy...
You know I don't like that fight. I don't like that fight. For him, the weight difference seemed quite annoying. It's a lot of weight, Tyson said. And to reaffirm his statement, Tyson recalled the fight between Crawford and Israel Madrimov in August 2024, when Crawford reigned as welterweight champion and moved up to 154 pounds. The fight went to a decision, something that has happened very little since 2016, but now Crawford would have to move up 2 weight classes to fight Canelo, so in Tyson's eyes, he shouldn't be fighting that guy. Former 4-division title holder Mikey Garcia said he disapproves of a potential super middleweight clash between Saul Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford.
I'm not even a fan of that fight. They're too many weight classes apart. And although the skills, Crawford is one of the best fighters that I've seen.
Crawford, who gritted out a win over Israel Madrimov last August to earn a 154 pounds title, has expressed interest in moving up 2 divisions to challenge Alvarez, who would represent the most significant opponent and payday yet for Crawford. Garcia recently told Fight Hub TV that his path crossed with Crawford's at last December's World Boxing Council convention in Hamburg, Germany, where he lauded him on all his accomplishments to date. Crawford is one of the best fighters that I've seen, Garcia said.
Canelo is, fighting at 168. Crawford just moved up to 154. And he had some trouble with that in that fight. Now,
I told him, dude, you're a badass. You've been a badass. You don't always get the recognition because of politics and boxing and favoritism here and there. But he truly does have the skills. He's a great fighter and he's proven it multiple times, obviously. Still, Garcia questions how Crawford, who fought early in his career at lightweight, would deal with Alvarez at 168, where Canelo unified the division and has yet to lose a fight. Alvarez has faced the likes of Gennady Golovkin, Caleb Plant, Billy Joe Saunders, Callum Smith, Jermell Charlo, and Jaime Munguia, among others, at 168, which currently makes him the most experienced fighter in the division. Where do you plan on going 164, 165, 166? Garcia asked.
Where do you plan on going? 164, 65, 66? Yeah. Canelo ain't gonna come down to 160.
Yeah,
Canelo ain't gonna come down.
Canelo ain't gonna come down to 160, maybe 166 maximum if he accepts. I think Canelo wins that fight based on just the size, the power and size. Now, skills-wise, I think Crawford is a better skilled fighter, but the difference in size will be the deciding factor. And that's why I'm not even a fan of that fight. Garcia said Crawford, a 37-year-old from Omaha, Nebraska, has accomplished all that he can in 4 divisions between 135 and 154, and acknowledges the financial lure of a Canelo fight for Crawford, who has never faced a marquee opponent. But he called on both Alvarez and Crawford to consider taking different career paths rather than facing each other.
You know, maybe 166 max if he accepts. I think Canelo wins that fight based on just the size, power and size. Now, skill-wise, I think Crawford's a better skilled fighter.
As a fight fan, I'd rather see Canelo move up and fight somebody like Artur Beterbiev or Dmitry Bivol again, Garcia said. If he wanted to challenge himself, then he should move up to 175 and challenge himself against those guys, not a smaller guy moving up. And same thing with Crawford. He doesn't need to fight Canelo. He can just fight other guys at 154. But former WBO and WBC light welterweight champion Tim Bradley doesn't believe either of the two can derail the Bud train. Instead, he feels Crawford himself is the only man who can end his reign of terror over the sport.
I don't think we've seen anything like Terence Crawford. In all my years of boxing, I know that for a fact. I do study history. I've never seen anybody that has everything.
I think the only person that can beat Crawford is himself at this point, Bradley told Fight Hype recently. Madrimov is the champion, and he must be respected. But as far as skill for skill, Crawford all day. I think he'll do well against Canelo, I really do. Would I be nervous if they were to fight? Hell yeah, because Canelo can punch, and all it will take is one big punch. But as long as he uses his legs, his athleticism, and his defense to get out of the way, then he should be able to beat Canelo. Interestingly, Bradley thinks Crawford can outbox Canelo just like Floyd Mayweather Jr. did 11 years ago when he defeated the Mexican star when he was 22 years old, fighting at a catchweight in 2013.
Good speed, power, timing, can switch the way he switches, to have the toughness, the meanness that he has, the way he finishes guys, the way he breaks down guys.
Crawford is about to turn 37, has never fought above 147, and would be coming up in weight without being tested at 168 by the top contenders. More fans would agree with Bradley if Crawford were interested in providing himself at 160 against the Killers and at 168 to show that he can hang. The fans perceive Crawford as in a hurry to get a huge payday against Canelo and a golden parachute so that he can live in luxury in his retirement years.
He's one of the smartest guys that I've ever seen in the ring, right up there with Floyd Mayweather. So, I would pick Terence Crawford to beat a Canelo Alvarez, even at 168.
This is the problem, the fact that he fought against Jermell Charlo. Charlo comes in at 154, said Tim Bradley to Fight Hype, reacting to Canelo Alvarez saying he's not interested in fighting welterweight Terence Crawford because there's nothing to gain from fighting him. Jermell moved up a couple of weight divisions to fight Canelo. He got in there and laid an egg. He just basically went in there and survived. He just felt like I'm not on Canelo's level, but the difference is the mentality of Crawford. He's a top pound-for-pound guy, said Bradley. Well, we don't know if Crawford will be any different from Jermell Charlo because he's not volunteering to test himself against some of the top super middleweights to give fans a reference point.
Everybody can call me crazy and whatever you want to say. I get it. Y'all didn't believe me when I told you about Spence, but trust me, Crawford will figure out a way. I know
If Crawford chose to prove himself against David Benavidez or David Morrell, you could feel confident that he just showed up for the payday against Canelo without trying to win, since Crawford has no intention of fighting anyone at 168 before fighting Canelo. You can only conclude this is about money and nothing else. Charlo was never a top pound-for-pound guy. The skills set of Crawford is what he brings, said Bradley. He's a competitor, man, and he's been after Canelo. He wants to fight Canelo, and I think he'll do well against Canelo. I really do.
a secret y'all don't know, and I ain't gonna tell you why I would pick Terence Crawford, but it's part of the secret is the reason why I'm picking him to win the fight. So
is it like a skill set? Is it like a preparation thing, or?
Nope, I'm not.
Now, am I nervous about the fight if they fight? Hell yeah, because Canelo can punch. That dude can punch, and all it takes is one. He hits a guy like Terence one time, who's coming up 3 weight classes to be able to face him. However, just like we saw with Floyd Mayweather, he was able to outbox him in 2013 when Canelo was 22 years old, and was able to outthink him and outthink him. Bradley uses Mayweather as an example to justify his argument that Crawford can give up huge size against Canelo and beat him. But we really don't know if that holds water. Canelo fought welterweight Mayweather at 154.
Just gonna put it like this. If the fight was to happen, you will see. Yeah.
Because a lot of people think Terence can compete.
It wasn't a situation where Mayweather moved up to 168 and fought a prime version of Canelo who was at full strength, but Bradley had more evidence in support of Crawford. I think Crawford has that ability to outbox him, outthink him, make him miss, make him pay, said Bradley. As long as he's not catching too many of them and using his legs and his athleticism and his defense to get out of the way, he should be able to beat Canelo.
Once he touches Canelo, because he's been hit by bigger guys, he's not gonna, I don't want to say show him respect, but he's gonna be able to get, okay, I could walk through this. I could take a little risk and set up my traps, cut the ring off, dig to the body, and wear Terence down over the rounds.
I'm just gonna tell you like this.
Yeah.
Slow, plodding forward. Canelo's got a good jab, good quickness, and throws a lot of hooks. Crawford just gets away from all of those and gets underneath them. He should be able to beat Canelo. We're basing it on what Charlo was able to do. Charlo didn't do anything. He was scared. He didn't want to get knocked out. I don't blame him. He didn't want to end up on a poster. I understand that. But you said you wanted to be great. You weren't great that night. Crawford is daring to be great, and I think he can do it, said Bradley. While Canelo hasn't paid much heed to the challenge, the fans surely did, who are divided on what would happen. But Sean Porter, who knows quite well what Crawford could do, says he is concerned.
The others say, like, no, that's 2 more weight classes. Like, once he gets touched by Canelo, it's going to be different.
I am concerned about him absorbing a Canelo punch, especially through the course of 12 rounds.
It's a tough fight to predict, no doubt. Just look at Crawford's dominant performance against an elite-level boxer like Errol Spence Jr. Regardless, speaking to Marcos Villegas from Fight Hub TV, Porter commented on Crawford climbing 2 divisions and the power difference that exists between the boxers fighting in 2 different weight classes. I am concerned about him absorbing a Canelo punch, especially through the course of 12 rounds, Porter confessed.
We do know this about Canelo. He's going to slow down. So I think if anything, Canelo would try to start fast and bang on him and break him down before he gets later.
However, Porter had an interesting analysis, suggesting Canelo would eventually slow down as he had done in most of his recent fights. So it led Porter to believe Canelo would start the fight on the front foot and bang on Crawford and break him down before the late rounds when he won't have the energy, while Crawford would. Even so, Sean Porter didn't seem convinced that he had the answer to who would emerge victorious, claiming, "But there's so many components that make a champion. It's a conversation that lasts an hour easily when we talk about all the components that Terence Crawford has."
And he still got that kind of steam, but there's so many components that make a champion. There's so many components that make a great, a legend. It's just so much to go into.
Sean Porter, who was stopped by Crawford in the 10th round of their 147 title bout, disagrees that Canelo Alvarez has the advantage here. He told Fight Hype that his former opponent has many advantages against an aging Canelo. You have to get your mind out of the space of who's stronger. Boxing ain't just about strength. Who's smarter? Who's more athletic? Who's faster? Who's got more stamina? Who's got more experience? The list goes on. You add all that up and you think, wow, a lot is actually on Terence's side.
It's a conversation that lasts an hour easily when we talk about all of the components that Terence Crawford has, all of the components that Canelo have.
I actually think that fight would be really interesting. I think that Canelo is not who he was 3-4 years ago. I wouldn't say he's declining fast, but his career is definitely not doing this going up, and it hasn't done this level in 2 or 3 years. It ain't a fast decline, but Canelo's certainly not who he used to be. A fight between them would be interesting and definitely competitive.
Definitely not doing this. And it hasn't done this in 2 or 3 years. So obviously it ain't a fast decline, but Canelo's certainly just not who he used.
Porter might not be sure if Bud could pull off the win, but Crawford's other former opponent does. Since his fight against Crawford last year, The Truth hasn't fought in over a year, even though a rumored fight against Sebastian Fundora is being negotiated for later this year.
I mean, it could happen. I mean, why not? If Crawford want to challenge himself to be great, let him try to be great, you know, so, you know what I'm saying, I'm with it.
Regardless, Spence actually had the opportunity to activate his rematch clause with Crawford, but chose not to. Whether it's because he needs more time to prepare for Crawford or has lost hope, Spence Jr. sure knows how formidable Terence Crawford is. According to a tweet from TalkSport editor Michael Benson, The Truth spoke on a potential fight between Crawford and Canelo.
I definitely be going Crawford, I think if anybody can pull it off, he can pull it off. He's chasing greatness, so why not? Canelo came up to 175 and all that and fought.
He said, if Crawford wants to challenge himself to be great, let him try to be great. I'm with it. As for who he thinks will win, Spence's words exuded confidence in his former opponent. I'd be going for Bud. I don't know if he'd win or lose, but if anybody can pull it off, he can pull it off, Spence added. And that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality contents like this.